Welcome, my friends, to the Red All Over Away Show with me, Andy Simcox. In this show, I'll be talking to friends old and new about their team who are due to face the mighty Reds shortly. We'll cover topics such as their team's formation, style of play, players to watch out for, strengths, weaknesses, their aspirations and hopes for this game and for the future. But before all that, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, a long time ago in the annals of history, a 4-year-old boy was walking down Oakwell Lane, holding tightly onto his dad's hand. He was then lifted over the turnstile and they made their way around the ground to be able to watch the team. His dad put him on his shoulder on the cob so he could watch his heroes such as Barry Murphy, our longest serving player. Fast forward 60 odd years and that hero is still around as an ambassador of the club, and the cob is now an all-seater stand named after the legend, the Barry Murphy stand. That 4-year-old boy is now finally back on the away end. Enjoy the show. Roll the titles. Now then, this young man here is called Matt. Matt, tell us who you are and where you're from.
Okay, right, young. I'll take that. I'll definitely take that. Given that we were
unless
talking
you're
about silver hair,
Unless you're 71, you're young.
it's all relative. Yes. So right. So my name is Matthew Jones. I am the. What are we? Are we creators of podcasts? I'm not sure what we are, but yeah. So my podcast is called Racecourse Ramble, and I am a Wrexham AFC fanatic, and I do live in Wrexham. So yeah, that's me really.
Where can they get hold of the Wrexham Ramble podcast?
Yep. So all good Yeah. So if you do listen to sort of away fan content, because some people do, I guess, don't they? Not everybody does, but some people do like to listen. We live stream on YouTube on a Wednesday evening, early evening, and obviously that's there then for anybody to watch retrospectively. And any good podcatcher, I think officially they're called, but we're on Amazon. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on all good podcast players. You can find us
on all top podcasts and top platforms, and some not so good.
Yes.
Everywhere you can lay your hat.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I just you'll find us everywhere. Once you look, you'll find us everywhere. So yeah.
No, that's what I call a shirt or a jumper that you've got on.
This one, you like this?
That is something else.
This is this year's one of this year's training and leisure wear gear. We call this the Raspberry Ripple. It's what it's been nicknamed by fans because of the swirls, etc. So yeah, we had terrible trouble getting them, but it took ages to land in the club shop. Our training wear this year, I don't know whether yours was the same. Lots of clubs had trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of my favourites, the Raspberry Ripple.
We've not been so bad this year. Last year with Fanatics, it was awful. Teething problems were awful.
Yeah.
But so far it's been infinitely better this season.
Oh.
All I'd ask, Matt. By the way, Jones is an unusual name for somebody from Wales, isn't it?
Do you know what the irony is? Do you know what the irony to this is? Because is that I wasn't born in Wales.
Gosh. Are you from Welsh stock, though?
No, my parents were both from Salford.
From the north?
They were, yeah.
Do you know? Right, I know you know the geography of
He's
England.
got excited now. This is it. He's got excited.
Before we start, so we're going to start getting about formations and all that. I was actually going to say, when we're talking, Matt, don't move too much because it'll make me dizzy. That top will make me dizzy.
Yeah,
that's what I was going
to say. It's like
one
of those. It's one of those patterns, isn't it?
But now, if you think telling me from Yorkshire that you being born in Lancashire is going to endear me to you,
I wasn't born in
to me.
I wasn't born in Lancashire either.
Well, this is getting worse. But of Lancashire stock.
So my parents, the short story, because obviously I don't want to waste too much of your viewers' time. The short story is both my parents were from Salford. My father was an electrician, and he used to take work out in South Africa in the mines.
Right.
And I was born while my parents were out in South Africa while he had some work. So I was born in a place near Johannesburg called Witbank. Then we used to come back and forth, you see. The long story, boring story, not, your as I said, your fans won't be interested in that. But yeah, it's I am of South African blood, really.
So you're a Springbok?
I'm a Springbok, yeah.
I
can pick and choose. When the rugby's on, I can pick and choose, you see. Whoever's doing best at the time, that's what I do, you see.
If it's between Wales and the Springboks, it'll be the Springboks.
Yeah, correct. Well, especially at the moment, because the Welsh rugby team is really suffering, aren't they? So yeah.
Oh, we've been there, yeah. Anyway, Wrexham.
Yes.
Welcome to Wrexham.
I'm loving the background, love that.
Well, I'll tell you, it's usually an away end background that I've had for the last couple of seasons. So you are honoured.
Yeah.
It's obviously it's in honour of your Hollywood roots.
Do you know the story behind the sign, by the way, just out of interest?
You can tell it me. I'd love to know.
It's only a quick one. It's not a long one. It's not boring. But basically, that picture that you've got is on what we would call a slag heap. Just a big mound that's on the side of the one of the bypasses that's on a busy road between Wrexham and Oswestry, towards England and Oswestry and Shrewsbury. And it just appeared not long after the takeover was confirmed and just before the season started. And we were all wondering for weeks who it was, who'd done it. Had Ryan and Rob done it? What's going on? And it turned out it was actually promotional. It was actually the National League, because we were obviously in the National League when the takeover happened. Yeah. It was actually the National League themselves that put that sign up. I don't know whether they had to pay somebody for using the land or what, but it was almost like the Hollywood sign as we were driving past.
Absolutely,
yeah. But it's gone. It wasn't lit or anything. You couldn't see it at night, but it's gone now anyway. So, but yeah, it was the National League who actually did it.
How do you feel about your Hollywood links? We'll get talking about the football in a minute, I promise you.
Do you have people going, just talk football, will you? We don't want to know any of that stuff. Listen, it's at the time it was unbelievable, I think I know it drives a lot of people mad because they think some of it's disingenuous, etc. They think Rob and Ryan are going to get bored. I've got news for you. They're more committed than ever. They've just invested in the local brewery. They're doing lots of work with the community. So it's bonkers. You can turn up to some of our local pubs, the famous one from the documentary, like the Turf. You can walk in there and Will Ferrell's there drinking, and they've had other Hollywood actors just in there mixing with fans and stuff. It's balmy, isn't it? You can't write it. So it is bonkers, but you get used to it, so it normalizes.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think they're conscious now, the owners. They're conscious that they don't want to cause too much of a stir, because they see all the reaction online to what's going on and what people are saying and stuff. So they're keeping low profiles until they need to, and then they pop up again with whenever they've got something else that they want to talk about or push or promote at the club, etc. So it's bonkers. It's taken us from a place where I thought we'd never get out of the National League. Yeah. I thought we'd be there forever. It felt like that was just going to be our place. So it's taken us to where we are now. So, we'll be forever grateful.
Power to them. And what a meteoric rise of the last couple of seasons. It's been a lovely thing to see. And, obviously, apart from tomorrow night and New Year's,
I get that.
New Year's Day, I think. All the very best, continue the rise. That'll be lovely. Let's talk about football. Tell me about what formation you use and what style of play you've got.
Right, so for people who don't know, Wrexham's manager is currently Phil Parkinson. Yeah. Very experienced.
Well, we know him in this area from Hull, a manager at Hull.
Yeah, so been around for, dare I say, whisper it, decades. It was his birthday on Sunday, so he's been around for decades, hasn't he? So at the moment with Wrexham, ever since he's got here, he's pretty much always played a 3-5-2. Which, depending on whether you're pro that formation or not. Some people see it as a 5-3-2 and other people see it as a 3-5-2. The reality is it is whatever it needs to be. But he's rigid with that, so it's always the same pretty much. He varies who plays in it, and obviously that sort of changes it, but pretty much always 3-5-2. And you will see very direct football. It's not designed to be pretty. It's designed to be effective, because that's what it's worked for him so far, you see. So that's what you'll see. You'll see a very rigid 3-5-2. And it's not, we're not trying to be Brazil here. We're trying to be, we've got elements of Brazil now and again with elements of old school Wimbledon. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you press high? Do you sit back and it's on the break?
Depends on the opposition, to be honest. Okay. He will change that game by game. So the last game I went to, God, I can't even remember who it was now, because I'm just back from Egypt. I've been to Egypt for a week. We sometimes will get the wing backs to press at the edge of the 18-yard box, and that's what we were doing against. Oh God, it's gone. Not Lincoln, the game before that. And other games, he'll sit back and let them come at you. The one thing we're not so bothered about is dominating possession.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite to what football has become, isn't it now? Everybody wants to dominate the football. Yeah, right from the back to the front. Wrexham are not overly bothered about that. We seem to be very efficient with how, we defy XG stats and all that. Yes, I'm not a hater of stats. I don't know about you, but Josh, but I'm not a hater. But
crikey, let me change. I'm not Josh.
It says. I thought that was beforehand. I thought.
Do you know? I'm using.
Just leave it there. It's fine.
No, I'm not having that. I'll get.
I thought your email said Andy, but
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I'll get a fair bit of.
Good. Give him some stick in the comments now, or wherever you are. Give him some stick. He doesn't know what he's bloody doing, and we don't even know who Josh is. Probably, do we?
Yeah, he's the host of our preview,
we'll
general preview.
Right, back to the football. So
he's a wrong un, though. He's a wrong un.
Oh, is he? All right. Well, say no more. But so we're not. We defy logic on the XG and things like that. And we have done since Parky was here. He's not bothered about dominating 60-70% possession. We'll win the game with our 30 or 40% possession with what we do. So yeah, if that'll give you a flavour. Don't expect anything pretty. Expect grueling, attritional football tomorrow.
That's really interesting, Matt, because that's not what I would have expected, if I'm honest. We play a similar formation. We usually play 3-5-2, or something, something really similar to that, and usually press quite quickly. Last season, we used to bore the opposition to death by passing it about across the back, the back three into fullbacks and then back. This year, we've been a lot more forward-minded, if you like, putting it down the channels behind the wing back for our wing backs to run onto and all that, and forwards to run onto. We mix it up, so we pass it about in midfield and up front and all that, and intricate little passing. Sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. But that's an interesting thing, because that's not what I would have expected. Having thought about it, I should have thought that because of Phil Parkinson.
Yes, he's found a way that's worked. And so he doesn't vary it too much, just little tweaks here and there, depending on the opposition. And obviously sometimes that changes because of your formation. The players in your formation have to change, don't they? And they're not all robots. They can't all do exactly the same thing, can they? So, they've all got their own little strengths and weaknesses. So yeah, that's what you'll see tomorrow.
You're moving about a bit though, Matt. You're making me dizzy.
It's supposed to hypnise you, not make you dizzy. It's going to hypnotise. It's one of them that hypnotise you.
As long as your team don't play in it tomorrow.
We'll warm up in it. This is the thing. This is why we do it. We warm up in it. You'll be in a daze. You'll see.
Well, for the match itself, I think it's apart from your home form, which is in the league is absolutely outstanding. Yeah. Is it something? What is it? Eight victories and 1 draw so far.
Do you know the irony is when this all sort of kicked off and Parky first came in, we really struggled at home. We were grinding out draws. It was dull. We couldn't get wins. I think there was too much expectation. Obviously, the crowds increased, so there was a bit more expectation. Whereas now we're imperious at home, and away we're very scattergun away. We could be brilliant or not very good. But I'm determined now. I'm adamant rather than determined that Parky is just like win the home games, take what we can away, and we'll be there or thereabouts. I think is his mentality.
It's serving you well so far this season. How do you feel it's gone? Bit
Beyond
awkward when you're second.
Well, yeah, but listen, I'm 46 years old. I'm not stupid. Being second now means nothing, does it? In reality, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. So I never get excited now. You'll be like me. You'll be sat in the ground. There's people on the phones at half time looking at the league table, and I'm like, what are we doing here? It's too early. So the reality is, when we came up, I was very realistic. I'm very respectful to there's some big teams in this league and some seasoned teams in this league, right? And I said I thought Wrexham would miss out on the playoffs this season. I thought we would just miss out. I was hoping we could put a fight up for it. I still can, but actually we've overachieved compared to my expectations. I'm not sure people at the club have my expectations. I should add that. Yeah, I'm not sure Ryan and Rob feel like that. I think obviously they're signing the checks, aren't they? They probably want they've probably got other ideas. But there's a very big fish in this pond that will probably take up one of those top two spots. It would be lovely if we could stay in that fight for one of those, either that second spot or the playoffs. But as long as listen, I've been through the mire with Wrexham FC. If we can stay in this league, I will be delighted. Is the reality.
We'll help you out on Saturday. We'll thrash Birmingham for
you.
If you can. Don't worry about that. We'll sort them out.
Hey, Shrewsbury can beat them. Anybody can beat them, can't they?
We'll sort them out. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Famous last words. Comments are going mad now. People are going, "What are you saying?"
God, dear, I'm going to have a lie down after this. I think I need to have a word with myself. Yeah, to be honest, we've not been bad away from home. It's at home that we've got a problem with. We create loads of chances, but fluff them, scuff them, do everything bar put it in the net. Right. But away from home, we're a lot better. So I think it's going to be a really interesting game. I think you're obviously going to be favourites because where you are and your home form or what have you. And I just hope that we do ourselves justice and see where it takes us and what have you.
Don't forget, you've got an ex-Red in Keller Dunn. Who'll crop up. I'm sure will be a problem. He was with us for a short period a few years ago. So
he's a good player.
Yeah.
He's a good player. He strokes it into the net. He'd missed a couple of the last few weeks, but he scored a couple with cutting in from the left and slot it into the far corner. Yeah. So, but he's not the only one. We've missed a few sitters, real sitters. Yeah. Okay. So I think if we want to get anything at the Racecourse ground, we've got to
be ruthless.
Take the chances we've got. Well, I'll give you some example. On Saturday in the cup against Bristol Rovers that we lost on penalties, we drew 0-0. Yep. We had 30 chances, 9 on target, and couldn't score. And we went. I can't begin to tell you how many players missed sitters through scuffing it, missing the ball entirely. The goalkeeper played well, so we would have to take our chances. I hope we create them, and I hope it's a good game. I thought it were going to be similar styles, but it sounds like we've got different styles, even though it's the same formation. So it's going to be an interesting game tomorrow night.
Our strength is our defence. So that's been the surprise.
That, yeah.
We are. I've not looked at the table today, but we are definitely top 2 for goals conceded.
I can tell you. I can tell you because I checked for.
Got it up. Yeah.
Is it 17 games? You've conceded 11 goals and scored 26. So you got plus 15. So it's we've said on our preview show, which we did on Sunday morning when I was fast asleep on the show. Me and my colleague, who's Alan Smith, who's 4 months older than me, so he's really old. I don't think we were awake during it. But yeah, we saw that he'd only conceded 11 goals. So we're thinking, my goodness, if you hardly concede any goals and we scutch everything, it's
obviously going to be a 4-0 away win, isn't it? It's got it written all over it. This is
going to be tricky. So Well, no, but how do you how are you going to view the match? How do you think about the match? You've told me about the season. What about the match itself?
Yeah, so I'm aware of. Obviously, I don't know who you're going to start tomorrow, who's suspended, who isn't, all that type of stuff. You would know that, but um, for me, it's interesting because I've still got the old. I see Barnsley probably different to you because I still think of you from Premiership days, and I've still got those links, because we haven't played each other for. You
Yeah,
might have the stat. It's donkeys.
long time. Yeah.
Yeah, a long time. So I still think of you as a big club. At the start of this season, I thought you would be right up there still. So I've got great respect for Barnsley. I don't know. It won't be an easy game from Wrexham's point of view. So if you're online and you see some Wrexham fans saying, "Oh, we're going to walk this 3-4-5-0 or whatever," just ignore that. This is that's rubbish. It's not how football works, is it? It's not the way. So. I'm hoping Wrexham can. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm hoping Wrexham obviously can edge it. But I'm not expecting us to be rolling you over or none of that palaver. This is a seasoned, experienced team from this level and above. So, I think it'll be a really good game. I don't know what you're bringing from. It's Tuesday night. It's a bit of a shame. I don't know whether you can fill that away end or not, but hopefully there'll be some good back and forth.
Whatever the allocation off the top of my head, like, yeah, I can't. It's sold out.
Ah, okay. So it should, in theory, it's probably going to be around 1,200-ish. I would have thought.
Something like that, I think.
Yeah.
So, it should that should be pretty good. Yeah, I mean, we're in the Premier League in 1997, so
And
really
time flies,
recently,
doesn't it?
yeah, and only just a little bit longer than that. We won the FA Cup in 1912,
Oh, right. Yeah, there you are. You see.
And I promise you this, though, it's not the same team.
No, it's a
Not the
shame
same
because
team.
obviously that might have been quite nice tomorrow, but no, that's all right.
Not the same team for us. So I won't worry too much about that. Yeah, what I would say is we've got one main injury, which is a shame for us. It's been out a couple of weeks, which is Max Watters, who's a striker. Who's, if you want to, cause he's quick. He can get in behind defences as a striker. They put it through for me, can run onto it. But he's a bit of a fox, fox in the box.
Yeah.
Getting the loose balls, 5 yards out, and that's what we're missing. We've got
Yeah.
players that are playing pretty good, but we've not had that, which is why we've not been scoring so many. We've got we tend to like to score from outside the box or headers rather than 2 yards out. So
Right.
that'll be interesting. Let me ask you this, because this is what our lot will want to know. Tell us about your strengths as a squad. The players and what have you. Other ones to watch out for.
The ones to watch out for are the back three is whichever we've got 5 centre halves who are all probably League One quality. So when somebody's injured, we can interchange. So we've got good strength there. The majority of our creativity comes down our right hand side.
Okay.
Which is I'm going to call him young, but he's probably mid-20s now. That comes from a guy called Ryan Barnett.
Ryan Barrett, yeah.
Yeah, so we took him from Solihull as a winger, really, at Solihull in the National League, and we sort of developed him into a wing back. He'll do the defensive work, even though naturally that wasn't his game. And his crossing and creativity is excellent. So that's where the majority of our threat will come from. Obviously, James McLean on the left. People know him. He'll wind you all up. The away fans, there'll be gestures. I'm sure there'll be hatred. I'm sure it'll all be going on. You either love him or hate him, don't you? He's one of them. So he'll distract you. And he'll keep you all busy while Ryan on the other side will do all the damage. The interesting thing from us at the moment up front is Paul Mullin, who people might or might not know, depending on what your League Two knowledge was. He has flitted a little bit in League One, but predominantly in League Two. He had that season that breakout season with Cambridge, didn't he? He's been our talisman really since the takeover. We managed to get him on a free transfer. So he's had back surgery in the summer. And he had a little spell where he had to start because we needed him to, but recently he's been resting him. So he's not. Right. He didn't think he was quite fully fit yet. So we've gone from playing him and Ollie Palmer up front, again, who you may or may not know. He's if you're a seasoned EFL fan. We have that big man, little man thing up front. To having Elliot Lee, the ex Charlton and Luton dependent again, who you might know.
Barnsley player.
Right, so
read him at Barnsley. Yeah.
So Elliot Lee has been sort of filling in, sort of as a free player, really, to play up front, to drop deep, to do that type of thing. So it's going to be interesting to see who he starts tomorrow, because obviously the last 2 games we've played Lee and Palmer, and it's worked. We've ground out a couple of wins. So tomorrow it's going to be really interesting to see what we do, because obviously the main goal threat is Paul Mullin, because he scored bags and bags of goals. But this fitness thing might just keep him on the bench initially. But the threat for you really is we predominantly try and build down the flanks. But Barnett is definitely the form player, if you like. He's the red hot player.
You've also got, I'm assuming he'll play. You've also got an ex-loanee of ours that we've had a few times that we loved in the centre of midfield, Matty James.
Oh yeah, so this is an interesting one.
We really liked Matty James. I know it's a bit hard when you're 70. I know he's knocking on a bit now.
Yes.
But he's a quality player holding that midfield together. He did it beautifully for us.
So we had an interesting... have you got time for a quick story?
Yeah,
quick
of course,
story, right?
Yeah,
so we had, in the summer, supposedly, this is all hearsay, isn't it? You know, I wasn't sat in Parky's office. But Parky apparently wanted Matty James in the summer because he got let go from Bristol. I'm assuming due to his age, because he played 40-odd times for him last year. So I'm assuming they've just gone, we'll reinvest in youth or whatever. So apparently Phil Parkinson really wanted him. And then we had, he got a telephone call supposedly, or a text message from ex-Charlton player George Dobson. Who was supposed to be going to Hungary. Not sure what happened. Don't know whether he signed or how he got out of it, but he pulled out of that move to Hungary, and Parky signed Dobbo instead, who's been sensational for us as well. But then we got some injuries in midfield. George Evans, who used to be at Millwall, got injured at earlier in the season, who's been really good for us. And we needed a body in, so he was able to do the Matty James deal. So we've ended up with the 2 players that he obviously wanted. And James, interested, has had next to no sort of games, has he, early in the season? No. But started the last 2 and been playing 90 minutes. You know what it's like when you first come back. Normally you get an hour or 70 minutes and then you're off. But he's been running him into the ground. And I think he might start. I think he likes that control that he gives him in front of the back 3. Nearly said back 4, but it's back 3. Yeah. So I think he might start tomorrow.
Well, I hope he has a stinker for once.
Oh, he won't have a stinker.
But all Barnsley fans, to my knowledge, everybody rates him.
Right.
So, I want him to do well for himself and for yourselves, obviously, not tomorrow night.
Not tomorrow. I get. I'm in the return. I get it. It's all right. It's
still the time, not to be facetious about Matty James. So, got a few things to ask you. This is about you personally now. This is your stories. Never mind Wrexham and all that nonsense. Never mind all that. And your swirly shirt.
That's more exciting than me, but go on anyway, that's all right.
We've got a couple lads from our treasurer, Tom Webster, his 2 sons, 11-year-old twins, George and Isaac. They think they're going to take over from me and Alan Smith as little Alan Andy. A bit like Ant and Dec.
I was going to say that, yeah, it's like little Ant and Dec, right.
And because of that, they call themselves little Alan Andy, and they've done all sorts. Well, obviously they do my head in because they think they're going to take over from me. It feels like they're just waiting for the 2 coffin dodgers to get off, to shuffle off so they can take over. Well, they'll have to wait a bit longer than that. But to appease them so that they don't get at me when we go to the matches.
Yeah.
I've got them to ask some questions of away-end guests. So they've got about, let me think, it'll be about 4 questions for you.
Perfect.
So, first one's about the team itself. So I'm going to put them on so they can ask their first question of you.
Let's go for it.
Who's your tumble down, Ted? The one that's going down in the box like he's been shot by a sniper.
Our tumble down Ted, right. So, I think there's only one person that people talk about a lot about our tumble down Ted. Although you might think otherwise, obviously. But that probably would be Paul Mullin. Obviously, if he plays, Although having said this, we have this from a penalty point of view. We've not had penalties in about 36 games or something. But obviously they can go down anywhere, can't they? So yeah, I would have to say that away fans certainly seem to think our tumble down Ted is Paul Mullin.
Thank you. Right, that's about you. A couple more. Before I ask you the next question, tell me, have you got any weaknesses as a team? I missed that out. I was going to ask about weaknesses, and I hadn't.
But I can't divulge that information.
Well, I'm not going to tell anybody. Don't worry about it. It's just between me and you, man.
Oh, perfect. Weaknesses. It's difficult that when you've got the best defence in the league, isn't it? That's the.
Give up.
No, but in reality, if you were, we haven't as of yet seen a pattern of play or something where we repetitively concede possession. I think, is it a weakness if you concede possession? Modern football is built on possession. You could argue that is a weakness, I think, in that we concede possession. It worries me that we're so willing to be so direct and not try and protect the football a little bit more, because modern football is telling me that's not what you're supposed to do. Sam Allardyce doesn't tell you that. If you listen to his podcast, it's no tippy-tappy football, none of that. But, let's be fair, we've got an unbelievable squad. We've lost our number one goalkeeper. Somebody else has come in and been equally as good in Callum Burton, who was at Plymouth. I said we've got good strength everywhere. Weaknesses. I'm reaching a little bit currently. Without being, I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to wind anybody up here.
You're managing it.
I can see you're smirking at me.
Politicians answer.
No, I would say that, because if you're a side that's good with the football or got good players, if we just keep giving you the ball too easily, eventually you're going to get punished, aren't you? That's the theory, yeah? So that's what I would say the weakness is, that we do. I think we concede possession. I would like us to keep the ball a bit more and play some more football with it. But what do I know? I'm just a fan, aren't I?
Aren't we all? We pays our money, don't we?
Yeah.
Right. Let me get the little scamps back on, and they're
please,
going to
yeah, they're better. Their questions are better. Come on, let's go.
They're going to ask you 3 more questions. The first one, I'm going to put them on now to ask the second question.
Why don't you support a good team? Yeah, like Liverpool or Manchester City. Or best of all, Barnsley.
Why don't I support? I mean, how can you say that? I don't. Well,
They're young.
They're young. They're brainwashed, obviously. Well, see, I can't support Barnsley because I'm not from Barnsley, am I? So I can't support Barnsley. Can't do that, can you? And to be honest, when I started supporting Wrexham didn't have. Well, we did, to be honest. It's that long ago now. It was sort of in the mid '80s. I was going to say we didn't have that many fans, but back in those days we used to have good crowds. To be honest, we had good. We were in the Football League at that point. But through the majority of the time I've supported Wrexham, they've needed my support because we've had rough times and not many other people sort of had Wrexham's back. So that's why, and from a Premier League point of view, and think those big clubs. I don't know about you, but I don't enjoy that anymore. It's not football anymore. It's become it's a farce. And I'm so glad we don't have VAR and all that stuff. So yeah, they were my local team from the town I've grown up in and lived in, and they needed my support. Unfortunately, we've just got lucky in the latter few years, haven't we? So that's why.
I understand completely, Matt. That's been a proper football fan, and I understand that completely because I'm very, very similar. And who wants tippy-tappy stuff? Who wants to be a glory fan? Support your local club. That's what it's all about.
Hey, listen, we're all going to be playing Man City soon. Again, we played them years, not too long ago. So we're all going to be playing them soon. So yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll cry if Bristol Rovers bring them out in the cup, the next round of the cup.
Oh,
then no. I'll cry. Only for the financial aspect of it, because we could buy somebody with that then. Right. So, having said that, so thank you for that. Two more, and it's to think about. So this is the third question.
What is the one game that you would like to relive again?
To be fair, Wrexham, you probably won't know this, Wrexham has a really good FA Cup history. We sort of
Mickey
made
Thomas.
Yeah,
That's all
right.
I'm going to say. Mickey Thomas.
We made our name on some FA Cup victories and cup victories because we've had some good games in the other competitions that have had various names through the years. We were a good cup side, and we've played some big European teams when we used to be in something called the Welsh Cup.
Yeah.
So we've had which we're trying to get back into, but that's another story. So we've had some unbelievable games. And everybody's got their favourites, I guess. You can argue about games that you've got promoted and things like that. But there's one game, and I have a little bit of recency bias because obviously, those are the ones I can remember really more than any in my old age. But I don't think I will ever see a game like we had a game in the National League against Dover. Okay. And if you've not seen this game, go on YouTube and look at the highlights, right? I don't want to spoil it too much, but it ends up Wrexham 6, Dover 5. Wrexham were either top or second. Dover were bottom, I think. We're rock bottom at the time. It ends up being a game that it's 6-5, and it is just Wrexham are 5-2 down or something at one point, and it is the craziest football game you will ever see. It is bonkers. So go and look for that. So, the club put out of the sort of the club put out like a 2 or 3 hour video about it and stuff. It was such a bonkers day. So I don't think I'll ever be in a stadium again and see a 6-5 win from being, I think we were 5-2 down at one point. And there was people leaving and people like, what's going on here? We're top of the National League. These are bottom. How can this be happening? But it was the classic thing. There was no pressure on them, and they took their chances. Michael Giassi got a hat-trick and then got himself a move to Chesterfield, I think it was. So, just a bonkers game. And just living through that and like, as we slowly came back and then got the winner, you can imagine getting a late winner in that game. The ground was shaking when the winner went in. So that's that would be my choice of favourite game.
That's lovely, Matt. Last one. Oh dear me, I'll make it the last one because I've had enough. I don't know about you, but I've certainly had enough of them. I've more than had enough of them. But I'll give them one last one just to keep them happy so they don't start on me. So here they are.
Who is the best player that you have ever seen play for your club?
Oh, this is controversial now. The best player to ever play for Wrexham. I say it's controversial because everybody else, how do you pick the best? Is it your favourite, or is it somebody who scored the most goals, or a goalkeeper that kept the most clean sheets?
I don't care, Matt. Don't milk it. Just decide. I don't care.
And then also, is it somebody you've seen as well? Because obviously, we don't appreciate the players we didn't see, do we? Like for us, the Tommy Bamford, who's the top goal scorer ever, and we've been really lucky. We've had some legends, but I guess for me, it was a centre forward that we had who came from our local rivals, Chester, as a free transfer. And that was Gary Bennett. He was a centre forward. Yeah. He played a bit for Tranmere as well, and he was a centre forward. And during my time growing up, when I sort of was going regular, standing on the Kop before it was knocked down, Gary Bennett was just the ultimate goal scorer. A terrible trainer, hopeless. Classic. Didn't care about training. Loved to be on the ale, but he scored goals for absolute fun. Struggled elsewhere, interestingly, but at Wrexham it just fit. Funny, isn't it?
It is. Sometimes players fit with certain clubs, and are the best when they're with them, no matter what happens before or happens afterwards. So
yeah. So for me, I'll always lean towards Benno. So I say we're lucky. We've had some big play. You mentioned Mickey Thomas before, and some of the others. Joey Jones, who played for Liverpool. Yeah. So we've had some unbelievable players, but I'll go for Benno.
That's lovely. Finally, bearing in mind that we played 120 minutes and then penalties.
So glad.
On
I was so glad. Yeah.
and to be honest, we changed one player.
Right.
And the player that didn't play, Johnny Russell, came on. So, bearing all that in mind, and they gave it their all. Like I said, they couldn't get it over the line, but they gave their all.
Yeah.
Against a team that had a week off, because despite you being a good FA Cup team, you weren't this year.
No.
Right, pig's ear of it this year. In the first round, I mean, we made a pig's ear of it in the second round, so I'm not one to talk. I'm just trying to wind you up now and get you good. So, bearing all that in mind,
yeah,
what do you think the score is going to be?
So, I think Wrexham win by a goal.
Okay.
The question is, do Barnsley score? You probably thinking that might be an issue, but you've got the stories are made here, aren't they? You've got obviously Keller Dunn could come back and score, couldn't he? Supposedly we were in and around Stephen Humphreys in the summer, so there's that. Yeah, so there's always that element, isn't there? Of it's typical, it had to be him. So the question is, do I think Barnsley will score? I'm going to say I think you do. I think you score the first goal and Wrexham win 2-1.
Okay, that's fine. I think I've predicted on our show we did on Sunday morning. We did. Obviously, we're feeling miserable on a Sunday morning because we just lost. Well, we just lost the tie, not lost the game, lost the tie on penalties. So we're feeling pretty fed up. So bear in mind your mean defence. I'm going to tell you honestly, because you could see it. I predicted that you would win 2-0. What I were going to do, Matt, will lie to you and say that Barnsley's going to win 2-0 and just lie. Because, it's like water off a duck's back lying. So I was just going to do that and just wind you up by lying, but I can't. I think you're going to win 2-0. And I also think that it's going to be flipping Elliot Lee that scores them. Elliot, there was clearly a football in Elliot Lee. He came at the same time to us as George Moncur. They were good friends.
Right.
And I rated George Moncur, but he was lazy. Elliot, it didn't work out at Barnsley very well. You could see there was a player there, but it just didn't work out. He were in and out of the side. And I'm glad he's gone on and, because, his dad's Rob Lee. I'm glad that he's done well. Obviously, again, not tomorrow and not in a few weeks' time. But I'm really pleased for him because a mixture, he didn't get the rub of the green at Oakwell with the managers that we got at the time. Or it didn't work out for him, and he weren't as good as he could be now. So, I want him to do well. And please, God, Elliot, don't score 2 goals against us. Don't score 1 goal against us. Do it for old time's sake. Let us win for old time's sake. We need it more than you because we got Birmingham back. Do the right thing and be, do the reasonable thing. You've got Rob and Ryan and all that. You've got all the Hollywood bit and your signs behind me, all that rest. Just Give a small provincial town in South Yorkshire a bit of a chance. Come on, do the decent thing.
Hey, listen, this is a small provincial town in North Wales, really, isn't it? So,
I know. Matt, I know you've just come back from holiday and you've come straight into this. And so for that, I am eternally grateful. Thank you ever so much for coming on and sharing your personal stories, but also letting us know a lot more about Wrexham than we would have known before. So thank you ever so much for
you're welcome.
Coming on the show. Much appreciated, mate.
No, thank you.
Take care.
Finally, as Kenneth Wolstenholme said in 1966, there are some people on the pitch, they think it's red all over. It is now.